Hi, my name is Teresa Kovlak, and normally you see me working on alcohol inks, but today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we are going to do an acrylic painting. So this is the painting we're going to do, and let's go ahead and get started here. So let me set this aside. I am working on a little canvas. This is a 2.5 inch by 3.5 inch, and we're just going to go ahead and start putting some paint on our canvas, and we're just going to cover the whole canvas. And this is a cobalt blue, a metallic cobalt blue, so it has a nice little shine to it. I'm going to put my fingers up underneath and grab onto it and paint my edges. You don't have to paint your edges if you don't want to. I like my edges painted because it gives it more of a finished look. I just want to cover the whole thing. And once we have our edges covered and our whole canvas, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab a little bit of this aqua green, just a touch. I actually grabbed a little too much, but no big deal. We'll just kind of rub that in. And I'm going to grab a tiny bit of that white, just to lighten up the canvas there a little bit. We'll go ahead and set that down, clean off our brush. I'm going to dry this down a tiny bit so at home you won't have to use a blower to dry it. You can just let it dry by itself. But I am going to dry it down a tiny bit so we can get on with our lily pads. That should be good enough. We're not going to touch on the paint anyways. I'm not going to smudge it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to grab a little bit of this yellow green, and I will have the colors listed below. And we're just going to kind of not really press down hard on our canvas. We're just putting our little lily pads out there, and I want just a nice little pile of them right there. We'll go with a little pile right here too. And Claude Monet was by far one of my favorite artists, so much so that I actually named my daughter Monet. And my cat's name is Claude. So I'm definitely a fan of Claude Monet. And we'll just put ourselves some more lily pads in here. Just kind of working the way up. The paint is nice and thick. If you want to use a palette knife, you can use a palette knife to do this part. I think I like that right there. So this doesn't take a lot of paint, but you are going to want to use, I'm using two different brands. I'm using the Liquid Text, and I'm also using Artist Loft. So you will want a thicker paint. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in our flowers real quick. I'm going to start off with my darker color, and this is a deep magenta that I'm using, and I'm just grabbing onto it with my palette knife, so I have a little bit on the bottom there. And I'm not really going to press I just want to get a little bit of that paint onto my edges. And just putting those little flowers out there. We'll go ahead and put a couple down here. And I should have put a little more paint on my tray, but it's fine. Put one there, and maybe there. Clean that off. I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of that pink, and that is a pink neon that I'm using. I'm just going to put some out there. And I'm going to grab a tiny bit of this lighter pink. Again, my paint is nice and thick and coming off the canvas. And just a touch of that yellow, and I don't have to put it on all of them. I can just put a little yellow here and a little yellow there. Kind of like that. And now what I want to do is come in with some hooker green. And I'm actually just going to use this right out of the tube because I only need a little tiny bit. And I'm just going to put it at the edge of my lily pads just to create some shadows. And I'm just putting it right at the edge with my brush. So I hope all of you are safe at home and everybody's doing good. Hopefully this painting will take your mind and let it drift a little. Just adding that little bit of shadow in there. Curious who your favorite artist is. You can always leave down in the comment section and let me know. This is just a fun little painting anybody can do. If you don't have a tiny canvas like this, just grab something that you can paint on. And it doesn't necessarily even have to be a canvas. I'm liking that. And we could even darken up our water just a tiny bit. Just kind of rubbing it in there. I washed off my brush, grabbed a little water, and just blending it in a little. And we can even put a little bit more of those little greens, like maybe there was a little lily pad coming up there. Now, if I had put my flowers here, I would want to have a reflection coming down. And actually, we could go ahead and do that. And that way I could show you what I'm talking about. And grab me a little bit of paint. And say we want one right here. Let's see. We'll go with one right here. Clean that off a little. Grab a little bit of that yellow. And I want to bring that down. Of course, I forgot to bring my burgundy down. Just to create a little reflection. And maybe we'll add a little bit of that lighter pink. You get too much, just scrape a little off. And we'll go ahead and grab a little bit of that white, maybe put a little reflection in that water. There, we got a nice little painting. And you guys can do this. Nice and simple and relaxing. So if this tutorial was helpful to you, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. I think I'm going to be working on different types of art, being that we're in this lockdown. I think I might kind of jig-jog around a little bit. So thanks again for joining me. My name is Teresa Cobalt. I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy painting.